could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted. You know, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that
Good morning, and I'm right on time. And I've got my coffee. And it's not blue. So my coffee, somebody asked, what's that coffee you drink again? This is a coffee I drink, Sorrento. And in a pinch, Cafe Candio. Doesn't have to be organic, it could be any. This is overpriced, but lately you have to kind of get what you get. Okay, welcome to the channel, and let me take these out. Don't need them. I think everything is good. I think the volumes are good. I think the colors are about right. So I think we're doing pretty good. Everything was on time. I guess something's gonna have to blow up. So welcome to the channel. Like, subscribe, comment, and join now, of course. Get all that out of the way. I will note, I was looking at the stats, and about 63% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. Yet they watch over and over, and a number of them have been watching for 2 or 3 years. You might want to subscribe. I'm told that all of these things, comments, interactions, they all help with the algorithm. I don't know, the mysterious algorithm. All right, today. Wow, look at that cool mic. Yeah. I'll get to that. How's it sound? Has it got enough bass? Okay. Oh, something else. I did my own haircut. Yeah, myself in the bathroom mirror. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, first thing is I want to address something that happened last week. And I only want to address it because of all the emails and comments I got on it. Very supportive, by the way. So I thank you for that. But I was asked my opinion on the riots that were happening in the United States from my perspective, being here for a period of time. And so I responded, and I don't feel bad that I responded, and I think the answer was, pretty reasonable. But someone took exception. They were very respectful in their exception, but it got a flurry of comments after the video to me. Who does he think he is? And it's your channel, you could do whatever you want to do, and all of that. And I appreciate that, but I want to address it now. And why I avoid most things political from the USA on this channel. My channel was started to help people. And I've told that story a few times. People that made decisions based on wrong information and got themselves trapped in a very bad situation in a place they didn't want to be. And, prompted me to start videos. Plus, I'd moved to Ecuador, and I was contrasting what I was actually seeing versus, international lying and a whole bunch of sources out there that were just crap. They were just fluff. You find out later you have to paint a positive picture if you want to sell things. And, and I get some heat when I do some things that come across as negative, but it's reality. And, reality isn't always butterflies and sunshine, and I want people to know. And that was the purpose of starting this channel. If I want to talk politics, I can Skype friends. I could start another channel, just politics. I could be the EIB microphone, the new Rush Limbaugh. I don't know that I'd be good at that, but like everybody else, I have my my opinions. But I was also asked, it's like, are you afraid to offend people? And absolutely not. I'm not afraid to offend people. I don't care if I feel that I'm being legitimate and honest and respectful, and if somebody doesn't like whatever that opinion is and they're offended, that's their problem. It's not my problem. It's kind of my view. So here's the deal. This channel is about Ecuador and Colombia and Panama and Venezuela, looking into the future. And it's not about politics. And, the thing is, when I want to watch a football game, I want to watch football. I don't want to see all the stuff that goes on. I just want to see the football game. If I tune into a cooking show, I don't want to hear how, it's cooking left or right. It's like I'm tuning into a cooking show, because our world is inundated with endless gobs of politics. It's become a blood sport. And if you tune into something for a particular topic, you don't really need that, because there's so much of it everywhere else. And so, while the guy's question was legitimate and I responded to it, it probably was a little borderline, which is why I didn't take offense at all when the guy brought that up, because it was my opinion that strayed near the political area. It wasn't, but I mean, today so many things have become political. When I was doing this last video with the slideshow here with the biodiversity, the reason I started out explaining that it's not about global warming or whatever is because I got a message. I commented, I was getting ready to put that video out, and I got a message saying, they didn't understand biodiversity, and they heard the bio and the diversity, and they thought it was, I must be talking about, Greenpeace or something. And No, and so that's why I made the, you know, the comment in the beginning of that video. It's like, no, it's nothing about that. So I didn't ever intend or promise a sanitized channel. And so, you know, I'm not going to walk on eggshells, and people can say what they want to say. And if I don't think it's appropriate, I just avoid it, which has happened in the past a few times. Every so often you get a troll on here, and, you know, those kind of things are going to happen. But I will continue to try to remain on topic as much as possible. And if it does stray into something political, you know, I'll state what I need to state and get out of it. But the politics that you're going to see on this channel really more relate to Ecuador and Colombia, which we'll touch on a little bit today. So if it's about Ecuador and Colombia and Panama and Venezuela, yeah. If it's about the USA, you know, those are my reasons. That's my rationale of why I really don't get into those things. Because imagine, you know, if you've heard enough of that and you want to hear something about a place that you're planning on going, and all I do is ramble on about, you know, the craziness that, you know, we call the United States of America lately, you know, it's like I wouldn't appreciate that either. Even if I agreed with what I'm saying, it's like, man, can I ever get away from it? And so that's that. I've addressed it. Let's be done with it. Hopefully nobody's offended along the way, but if they are, you know, you'll get over it. Okay, so before we get to whatever it is I'm going to talk about today, good morning. How are things in Ecuador right now? I was there in February. Take care. Well, actually, I'm in Colombia right now, but spent 3 years in Ecuador. Still know a lot of people, talk on a daily basis. Very good friends. A lady, retired teacher, her husband, and their daughter is probably, I don't know, I think 10, 12 years old. Time moves on. He's been having some problems. He's got diabetes. And they were going to sell everything and move back to the United States. But he got an infection and went into the hospital. And it doesn't look like he's coming out. And that's kind of that's such a theme. That video I did 2 weeks ago about Ecuador, and I talked at some length about this very problem. And here another one pops up over something that shouldn't be to the extent that it is, and now, you know, it's, I don't know, it's very sad. It's very disheartening. The medical is not what they portray it to be, and, you know, let's leave it at that. So quick updates on the channel. Yes, I got this condenser microphone, and I was asked, Robert, well, but you got that other little microphone that was like 20 bucks. I got this other little microphone, and he says it sounded really good. It did sound good. The problem is it doesn't fit any kind of a stand. It's a Chinese thing with a very unique attachment, and about the only thing I could find it to fit on is the tripod it came with. And the problem with that tripod is, you probably noticed in the video, I kept hitting it. I kept knocking it into the keyboard. It would punch buttons that didn't need to be punched. It was very problematic, and there was no way, no place that I could put it. And so what I really needed was something with a boom arm. And that's why you see a lot of people that do this kind of thing, they've got a boom arm or a lavalier mic, but that requires other things. And the thing with this is, I'm looking for a boom arm, and I figure, well, I could probably pick one up for about 20 bucks. And yeah, this was $53, which included a really good US company microphone, Tonor, which is US. It comes with its own phantom amp and the boom arm. It also, you know, it's got the little cover, and it's got the pop shield, which kind of gets in the way. This actually works really good on this microphone. And it's cardioid microphone, so it's here and not back behind it. So I mean, it's perfect for this setup. It was $53. So I put it in. I look at Amazon, and so I look at Amazon, and after shipping and taxes, it amounted to, I don't remember. I think it was like $120. I go, whoa, that's ugh. So I copied and pasted the link into the arrow post that I've told you about, and it comes up $53.99. All included, shipping, everything included. So I ordered it, and it took 5 days longer than it was supposed to, and that was here in Colombia. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it got here 5 days late. The original time was supposed to be 8 days from the day I ordered it till it arrived. Add 5 days to that, and that's how long it took. So I've known this was coming, but until something actually shows up, you don't really want to, talk about it too much, because you never know what's going to happen. But I am really impressed with this microphone. I did a radio show, radio station. It's called WHAM, 1180 on your dial, for 5 years on automobiles, and it was called Crash Talk, and you call in and ask all things automobile. And I had a sidekick, my own Ed McMahon. He would inject the humor, because I tend to be kind of humorless, or it's such dry humor that nobody gets it anyway. But I'm considered to be an expert on all things automobile. I've written several hundred magazine articles for trade magazines, and this radio show for 5 years, and it was a lot of fun. The mixing board was very confusing for me. After 5 years, I could turn it on and adjust the volume. But the microphones were very interesting, because I had never heard microphones that sounded as good as those. And I'll tell you, this microphone isn't as good as that, but with software, it's adjustable to sound as good as that. Now, you may not be hearing it, because I just got this, and I did some quick adjustments on the sound. So I could try to avoid background noise. Please let me know if you're hearing background noise, because there's somebody out here cutting bushes. Sounds like he's got a weed whacker going. And I also adjusted it so it wouldn't peak out. It wouldn't, like last week, that other microphone, which I couldn't do anything about, it kept pegging out. And if I sat back, it just wasn't quite loud enough. So this one I was able to do the compression and the noise suppression and all of those things with it, and very impressed, very happy with it. So the microphone, the other one's not to waste. I will use the other one for podcast. You never have enough microphones. I've got 5 microphones, and they're all, the little one is pretty good. This one is really good. So I have one really good microphone. I am so impressed with this microphone. The history of the company, the guy, he was in a rock band, and his goal is to make to dominate the world in microphones, and he's trying to make top-notch microphones and sell them cheap. And he's doing it. It's becoming a really popular mic. Okay. The desktop computer, where I can see mic audio sounds pro quality. Yes, thank you. Can't hear the guy weed whacking. Awesome. I couldn't do that before. So the desktop, the 16 megs of RAM came, and I took out the 4, I put in the 16. It was really dusty and dirty. There were dust balls surrounding the fan. I had to actually get that mask that's good for nothing else, but it was good for that. And it took me about an hour and a half actually to clean it out. So I cleaned it all out, and it could have been a lot faster. I just didn't want the dirt everywhere, so I'm just kind of sweeping it bits by bit. So I got it all cleaned up, put the RAM in, set it up, and it's actually a usable computer, and most of my software I can run on it, but I can't do the editing because it does need the video card, and the monitor is kind of an antique monitor. I think it's like 480, it's your standard, and it really needs a 1080 monitor. So one day I'll shoot for that, a couple $100, and I can get a card and a nice monitor, and then I got a really good backup system if I ever run into the problems I had before. In the meantime, it's really good during these live broadcasts. I could say, "Hi, looking good, my friend. Sound is good." See, I can actually read that, and I don't have to take my glasses off and squint and get up here. And I wonder if you can hear me up here. It kind of suppresses if it's not in front of it. Okay, and last thing to do with the channel is merchandise is rolling again. I've got a replacement shirt because the yellow cake, it was weird. They were running when they shouldn't have been running or something like that. And so they're sending me a replacement. I can tell you the shirt is really nice. It's really comfortable. This is the one that's called Premium. And it's extremely comfortable because I'm kind of a fat boy. All my shirts, all my other t-shirts need to be long. And I didn't order long with this. I didn't even think about it, but it's perfect. It's I'm really, really happy with it. It's very good quality. So on to today. We've got a few things to talk about. Let me see if we can switch this. All right. Hopefully you can still hear me. It looks like you can. Just want to show you some things here. I've talked about the tunnel that they're building and all the amazing stats and record breaking and all of that that's going on between Armenia and Bogota. Well, it's actually between Armenia and Ibagué, which you carry on, because it's the #1 trucking route in the country, and it's this crazy winding 2-lane, barely, through the mountains. It's a crazy road, and it's the major trucking. It comes from the port, the Pacific port, load up the trucks, and they run up there to Bogota. So they've been building this tunnel, and so I ran into this. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'll play a little bit of it here. I don't know if I got the. I don't know if I got the sound. Could only barely hear you when you got close to the screen. Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. So this is a tunnel in process. This is actually some propaganda from the transportation department, and it's like our heroes of Colombia, and we want more heroes, and the brave men in the tunnel. And it probably is a pretty dangerous thing. I don't see them volunteering any stats about workplace injuries. But when this tunnel is done, it's going to make trips to Ibagué a walk in the park. I don't remember. I think we're a year away from it being completed. I shouldn't say, because I don't remember now. I probably should have looked. Propaganda or not, it looks cool. Yeah, it's a very cool tunnel. And they have a right to be proud of that tunnel. Okay, and what else we got here? Let me stop that. Here, I'm asked all the time about what's going on with the coronavirus, so I'm not going to go deep into it today, but in Condillo, it says we have 125 active cases. Yesterday, a new case turned up. 13 of those cases are in the home. None are in the hospital. And I'm sorry, 13 cases are active. 13 cases are active. There's 106 recuperating. There were 125 total cases. And this is dead. It's actually, what is it, perished or something. It's like down here is muertas. This means the same thing. So in all of Condillo, 4 people have died that they're attributing to coronavirus. The 125 cases in total. 1 case popped up yesterday in Calarca, and all cases are being treated in the home, none in the hospital. So why do we have such a tight lockdown? That's a real good question, and people have been posing that question, and it's a pretty touchy subject. So let me go on to the next thing here. We've got new measures established for the mobility of Armenians. This is as of yesterday. So we'll go down here. Now, right now, we have this thing where on Fridays, I could go to the store, I can pay bills, I can go into a bank because of the last digit of my cedula. For the meeting yesterday, I'm glad you guys can't hear that noise. It's kind of a shrieking. Assuming you can't hear it. Boy, driving me crazy. Maybe I do need the headphones. I was going to put the headphones on because then I can hear what's going on. But then I couldn't wear the hat, so I decided to wear the hat. Oh, also, I love to get off topic. I've got a fan in here because it's been really hot doing these. So I've got, because it's such a small room, I got a fan in here, and when I was testing this before I went live, I can't hear the fan through the microphone. So I don't know if you can hear this constant. It's not all that quiet because it's so close to me, and it's one of these tower fans, so it goes this way. It's not a rotary fan. So anyway, just curious if you can hear the fan or not. I don't think you can, which is pretty awesome because it's kind of noisy. All right, so where was I? So people have been pretty upset. You know, it's like we don't have squat going on here. Why are we locked down? And so they had a meeting yesterday, and they came out with this idea of even and odd. So now on Monday, June 15th, the numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 can go out and go to the store. Now, you've been able to go out every day for exercise, 2 hours a day. But you couldn't go into any place to pay a bill or go into the bank or go to the grocery store unless you had the right ID. And that was once a week. And if something happened, you missed it or you forgot it because, you know, time kind of stands still in this situation, then you got to wait another week before you can go. And it pretty much sucked. And people were trying to ignore it. And the guards at the door of these places are, you know, getting upset because they don't really want to enforce it, but it's their paycheck. And it was not good. So now they've done this, which is, it's a big step. I can go every other day. Friday, June 19th is some sort of holiday. So you can go, I can go on the second part of the day. Other people can go on the first part of the day. So then we're back to the odd, even after that until June 30th, when supposedly this is all supposed to end. God, I hope so. It's crazy. Somebody said we're at 98 days, and I quarantined myself. A lot of good it did. I got sick anyway, but I quarantined myself something like 8 or 10 days prior to the official quarantine, which was, I think, was March 23rd, maybe. So if you go something like 8, 9, 10 days prior to that, that's how long I've been in this box with only a few visits outside. And I find it's actually easier because of lines and restrictions, all the craziness that goes on, the busy work that they feel compelled to make people do. It was easier just kind of sit back and, you know, I can order on my phone or on my laptop and the stuff shows up 30, 40 minutes later and I don't have to deal with any of that crap. And so a lot of it's been that. But I got to do something because, you know, I'm getting really lazy. I mean, I used to need to go out and walk every day, and now I've gotten used to basically not doing anything. I don't have a scale. I imagine I'm getting fatter. I must be. So, you know, I want to live, so I really want this to be over so I can get out and hike around. I'm going to try this week to get out a little more. And I mentioned, they said they still have restriction on your time, but they've moved it from 2 hours to now 3 hours a day. So I can go out every day of the week for 3 hours. That's actually long enough, and there's enough places that are now opening so that I don't really have any reason not to get out there, other than I can't really go out and do videos because everywhere that I would go and walk and see, I've already done videos on. I mean, I need to get out of Armenia, and that's still locked down. In July, they say that in-country flights are going to begin again. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so what else we got here? Oh, this I want to show you. Speaking of politics. Okay, this is an English paper out of Colombia. But it's getting cold. It's getting more and more difficult for me to use this paper because it's a biased rag. And I just want to show you some headlines today so you get what I'm talking about. And it just gets old. I mean, if you want information, you don't need it colored by all the bias that the people in this paper have. So let's just take a look at some headlines. All right, the first one. Colombia's counter narcotics policy falling apart. Okay, that could be true. Colombia's VP admits after 23 years, brother is a convicted heroin trafficker. I mean, as if people didn't already know that. And that's not a scandal because 23 years ago, a lot of people were. The guy who ran for president was a leader of FARC, you know, the biggest criminal organization Colombia's ever seen. And he ran for president. What else we have here? Honest cops need not apply. Colombia jails policeman who discovered 2018 election fraud conspiracy. That's a big story right now. And now I hear high-pitched sound slightly. Okay. We'll figure that out. Oh, that's that really loud thing. Yeah, when I set up the mic, I didn't set it up for something like that. I had no idea. I've never heard that before. I don't know what it is. It's horrible. So I apologize for that if it's bleeding through. There is an adjustment where I could actually get that out of there, but if I talk quiet or lean back or something, it could potentially cut my voice off. And so you try to find that middle ground. So there is a question about, was there a problem with the election and what's going on with corruption, because there's a lot of stories. The problem is it's very difficult here to find out what's real because you have things like this that are so biased. Let's look at this last headline. The prosecutors trying to make Colombia's 2018 election rigging plot go away. I think there's one more. Yeah, look at this one. Cristina, the village idiot of Colombia's Supreme Court. I mean, how do you take any of this stuff serious? You know what the political bias is of the paper, and it's so out there, it's so ridiculous that you just can't believe anything that they say anymore. It used to be more closeted, but now it's just, they have no shame and they put things out like that. So I just want to point that out. It is hard to get your hand on information. It's not hard to get people with opinions. There's a lot of people with opinions, but to actually have real information is difficult. Okay, got a few questions that I want to respond to, and then we'll open it up for Q&A in general. Is it true you must have an ongoing flight or return flight, not by bus? Okay, no, that's not true. You technically don't even have to have a flight. You can reserve a flight and then, without even buying the ticket, print that off and then use that itinerary, because as long as you have it, it checks the box. But the thing with the bus, of course they can't, and they don't require a flight. I don't know where that comes from, because suppose you were flying into Colombia and then you had an intention to get on a bus and go through Ecuador and Peru and Chile, and by bus, because that's what people, that's what people very often do. So it's perfectly legitimate. I yet to, as a matter of fact, I don't recommend this, but a lot of people don't even have it, but they can ask you for it, and it is a requirement that you show that if you're coming in and you're not a permanent resident, that after your time is up, that you're planning to leave, because they don't want you to come in and have no way to leave, or show no intention to leave. But a bus is perfectly fine. This next one I don't get, but I got it actually in an email. Somebody was talking about this. It says, do cities feel smaller in Colombia versus Europe or USA? And the example he gave was, if you've got 6 million people and you're in the United States, or if you're in Europe and you got 6 million people in a city, you could have the same 6 million people in a city in Colombia, but it feels like 3 million. Or if you're in Armenia and it's 300,000, that if you're from USA or Europe, the 300,000 feels like 150,000. I don't get it. I don't know who he was talking to or what he was referring to. It's nonsensical to me. It doesn't make any sense. It depends on the layout. For example, because of the way Armenia is laid out, that it's long and skinny. I think the Finger Lakes in New York, they're north to south, long and skinny. That's what Armenia is. So I'm in the north part. So you can walk in less than an hour from one side of the city to the other, going east to west. However, it would be quite the hike to go from north all the way to the south. It would not be fun. So it feels very small here because of that feature, that aspect to it. It depends on how a place is laid out. I mean, I go to Bogota. If you've ever flown into Bogota, I don't know. It looks gigantic because it's so spread out. Quito is similar. It's so spread out. Now, a good portion of what you're seeing when you're coming into Quito are all these 1- and 2-story shacks that are on the outskirts. I mean, it looks like it's bombed out rubble, but people are living in there. People in Ecuador very often live like 50 years ago. I posted up on the Facebook page, Adventures in Gran Colombia. I posted a video I found very interesting from World War II, and it's about Ecuador. I highly recommend you go take a look at it. And it goes from Guayaquil to Quito to Imbabura, Baños. It's fascinating because what you see back in 1942, I think, when they made that film, you see the same thing today. In Colombia, it's a very different story. Colombia is just a very modern country. But if you're flying into Quito, the proper part of the city with the, big tall buildings and stuff, it's not all that huge. But if you were to take this area, it's just enormous. It's absolutely enormous. So I don't think you can say that. I don't think it makes sense, and I don't think that would have come from somebody who is really all that traveled. You know, I've been to Paris, I've been to London, you know, I've been all over the world, and I don't know, a city looks like a city, and to me, they're all big. What is the best way, can't read my writing, to obtain items from the USA? Oh yeah, I thought this was a good one. I put it as a hierarchy. Okay, first of all, if you want to get local, then your best way is to go to El Centro. You can find goods from the US, but you're gonna have to hike around. You could spend a day, you could spend hours walking around. You saw me do that on a video. After 3 or 4 hours, I was just so tired. I hate shopping. But that's your best, cheapest way, if you don't mind the walking. Hunting. Number 2, Facebook Marketplace. Real good place to find things. You can negotiate out that they'll deliver it to you very often for free. I find things if the price is right. Rather than negotiate down the price, I convince them to deliver it instead. Keep your price, just bring it to me. And that almost always works. Number 3, OLX. Okay, it's okay site. Now let's get to the heart of it. Items from the United States. Number 4, I would say Mercado Libre. That's a website. It's all over South America. They had it in Ecuador also. And you can buy things there. For example, if you want a KitchenAid mixer, you can go on Mercado Libre and you can find all kinds of them. The prices are varied. You can find good prices. The advantage to that site is the delivery is usually 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 days because it's already in country. And you're not dealing with any kind of customs or anything like that. So, I mean, that's kind of a plus. Number 5, I probably have this reversed. I'll put number 5 as Amazon. You buy it from the United States, comes through Amazon. Number 6, which I think is the best way to get things out of the United States, is Aeropost. I'll give you an example. Was this microphone that on Amazon, it was like $120, $130 after taxes and customs fees and all that, but on an Aeropost, $53.99. Very same item, came from the very same place. It came, the company's in Indiana, I think. So it goes from there to Miami. In Miami, they deliver it to the Aeropost building there. Now, Aeropost, somebody also asked me, well, isn't that the same as these shipping companies? No, because these shipping companies, first of all, you have to subscribe to them. You get yourself an address, you do the ordering, you send it there, you have to deal with all this stuff. They just bring it in. This does everything for you, and there's no subscription. You just pay, and you can pay by credit card. You just put whatever link. It doesn't have to be from Amazon. It could be anywhere, anything in the United States that you see online. You put that link in there, and I've tried whole bunches, and there was one that came up that they could not do, but there's been, I don't know, I've probably tried 50, 60 times, maybe more, where they all worked. And the one that didn't was some kind of something out of China, and even in Amazon, it didn't have a price for it. There was something weird. So well, let me try that one. And that one they couldn't do. They couldn't get their hands on it. So those are the best ways. And anything, it's like you want a Instapot, for example. You can find one on Facebook Marketplace. You can buy it on Mercado Libre in country. You can buy, you can have it brought to you from Aeropost. You're not lacking anything. Everything you can get. I don't know of anything that you can't get. Some things will have some fees and prices, but through Aeropost, I'm not sure exactly how they do it. A lot of those that even should have some sort of fee comes through without a fee. Anything electronic is supposed to. This should have, but it didn't, and I'm not going to argue. Contrary to living in Ecuador, there's a lot of things you just can't get. You have people all the time begging for Instapots, and hey, next time you go to the United States, can you bring me one back? Here, you don't have to deal with that. You just have to wait a few days for it to show up. Okay, Q&A time. What are we doing on time? Well, okay, Q&A time. Please preface it with 4 question marks so I can zone in on those first, but I can still read. Okay, I never had a problem from Colombia. It's JetBlue and Spirit wouldn't let me on the plane without a return ticket. Okay, well, the airlines may or may not have something, you know, there may be something about that for the airlines, but for Colombia is what I was explaining. Now, for the airlines, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of craziness to me. If it's smaller, it's smaller. I don't get that, and I travel a lot. If you come from a city that you know intimately, and you know how long it takes to go across, you have perspective with it, you know, you get a sense of it. It's got so many things because you've lived there for years. And then you come to a place where maybe you don't know it so well, maybe you don't have the same perspective, but that would be kind of an individual thing. I've never experienced that. It's craziness to me. Swiss couple, they said it was about the feel rather than the look. I didn't get what they were talking about. Thought you might. No, I don't get it. Personally, I would just kind of throw that in a trash bin. I mean, no offense to whoever, but it just makes no sense to me. I don't even understand how that's I mean, what does it even mean? I don't get it. And because the people are tiny, think the Emerald City of Oz. Well, in Ecuador, you could say that. Here in Colombia, you know, it's funny. When I was living here before in Pereira, back in 2002, 1 and 2, I recall everybody being really short. Everywhere I went, I was tall. I'm only 5'10", but everywhere I went, I was a giant. I would get teased about it. You know, it's like, how's the air up there kind of stuff in Spanish. And it was most striking when I went to a bank and I had to stand in line. And I'm standing in line in this bank, and it was a really long line. They just seem to love their lines here. Less so now, but back then, if people saw a line, they'd just go stand in it. So I'm in the bank, I'm in this line, and it was really noticeable to me because I'm looking over and I realized that out of probably 50 people in there, I'm looking down on every single one of them. I was the tallest person in that room. Now, here I am in Colombia 20 years later, and I don't see that at all anymore. Now, how do people grow in 20 years? I go to a place, if I've got a crowd of 50 people, I'm seeing people taller than me. You know, you run into people all over the place that are 6'2". I don't know, it's just very different. And I would say, well, it's just perception. But I was here for a while. I mean, I was living here. And it was a thing that we talked about because everywhere I went, I was the giant. Now, you know, here in Colombia today, I'm just normal. Now, I will say when I went to Ecuador, it brought back feelings of that because people there, mostly pretty tiny, short people. And the more indigenous they are, more mestizo blood they have a unique characteristic in Ecuador. It's these really broad shoulders, including the women. They'll have skinny or no butts and then really broad shoulders. And that comes from hundreds of years of carrying things. And they talk about that in that video that I said you need to watch it, the 1942. It's a really interesting, well done video and very accurate. And it talks about that, the physical characteristic. They're very unique. And some people find women in Ecuador not very attractive because they're not used to that physique. Well, a lot of women aren't. You've seen them on my video. That's not everybody, but it is a pretty common thing that you don't see here. It's just very different. They're not allowing people to enter again. Not yet. They say September 1st flights will be coming in. Hopefully. Those inscrutable Swiss. Do people run about to the store and do their errand on a 3 or 4 wheel ATV there in Armenia? I never really see them. I mean, they could. It's not like they're not permitted. I imagine they have to be licensed. The motorcycle has to be licensed. Never really see them. Motorcycles are so cheap. I mean, you can buy new motorcycles for $1,000. It's small. Most people get $250 and under. Most people are like $150 around there. But it's all you need. You really don't need any more if you're bebopping around here. And you'll typically see a carrier, a box on the back, kind of hanging out the back, where you could put, 8-10 bags of groceries in it. So, an ATV or 3 or 4-wheeler is going to be way more expensive. At that point, you can just buy yourself a car and not get rained on. So you don't really see that here. Now, if you come here and you're living here and you just got money to burn, you can buy them and go out and have fun or whatever, and But no, I don't know that I've ever seen one on the street. Stop hacking and answer questions. Yeah. Well, ask me a question. I don't have any more questions. I've answered them all. Oh, Charles. It's good for somebody to put me in my place. I know that I kind of ramble on. Why do I do that? I have this thing, it's internal, where I feel that I have to explain all the nuances of something, so that my biggest fear is it'll be misunderstood. I should know by now. People will still walk away and only hear what they want to hear, but I probably over-explain my answers, and that's why. I think of this aspect and this one and this one and this one that might leave some doubt in somebody's mind, and so I try to get them all. Hence the rambling. Charles, you're right. Do we have any more questions, or are we done for the day? I'm almost out of coffee. It's actually kind of ice cold. Look. You like my bookcase? It took me days to install that and buy up all these books. Yeah, it's a green screen. So that's it. No more questions? We got 32 people online and no questions. What would your second choice city be? It would be Manizales. I don't know that I'd have a third choice. Yeah, it would be Manizales. As I've said before, as a city, I think Manizales is one of the best cities I've ever been to anywhere. I think it's the best city in Colombia. Now, I know people, Medellin, no, it's the best. Well, there's areas of Medellin that are very special, but we all have different tastes, and for me, it's not an option because, again, it's way too polluted, it's way too crowded, it's expensive. You say, well, it's not expensive. Well, for poor people like me, it's expensive. I can live way better. My rent's half of what it is there. So, that comes into play too. But even that aside, if it wasn't for that, the pollution and crowd alone would be too much. There's things about Medellin I absolutely love. I adore. It is world-class city. But I'm just not a city boy. How hilly is it in Manizales? Is it walkable? Well, I wouldn't really say it's hilly. It's mountains. And you can situate where you live so you don't really have to contend much with it. But they're there. Do you have avocados all year? Yeah, we have avocados all the time. And dirt cheap, different kinds. We have the Haas, we have the whatever the big green ones are, which are kind of more tasteful. My favorite thing is, except for a couple weeks, we have watermelon year round. I love watermelon. It's like my favorite fruit. Sometimes I'll just sit there and eat a quarter of a watermelon for dinner, ice cold with salt on it. And it seems like there's almost always watermelon here. HD Chillin', $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How do you get your car insurance in Colombia? You go online and you pay for it. That's it. Simple. I'll do, when the time comes, I'll do a video on that. It's just, I don't want to do the video until I'm actually doing it. You haven't been to Bucaramanga? No, it's one of the places, actually it's the first place any distance away from Armenia that I want to go. I'm dying to go. I've always wanted to go there. And one of the motivations to get this car, I saw in an interview Emmanuel Lewis that he loved China because everybody was short like him. Or what about the guy, the plane, that guy, you know? Would you consider doing a video on the tennis courts and golf, and also maybe interview your friends that ride bike? Sure, but the interview, everybody that I know that's bike riders, they all speak Spanish. So the interview, you know, it's, for some people it'd be okay, but for most people it wouldn't mean much. And doing subtitles, I'm just not a subtitle guy. You can buy programs or subscribe to programs that will automatically do that, but to me it's expensive. I just, and my audience is primarily United States, Australia, Europe, English speaking. So, you know, just wouldn't. I do have some Spanish speaking people. I'm in Colombia. There's, you know, something like 12 or 13% of the viewers are out of Colombia, and I think 8 or 10 are out of Ecuador. But even most of those are actually English speaking people. Earlier you mentioned Venezuela and Panama. Are you planning a move? I'm not planning a move, but one of these days, when life settles down and I get things the way I want it to be, and affording is part of it, is I do want to go to Panama because it was part of Gran Colombia, and I want to show some of that history and some of what that was about. Gran Colombia, for the 8 years in its existence, was Panama, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela. And of course, it's obvious why I can't go to Venezuela right now. As a matter of fact, with a U.S. passport, it would be go right from the border to jail. They wouldn't let me go out and around. You got to be from certain European countries. I know somebody, I won't quite say he's a friend, but I've known him for a lot of years, and he's a reporter from France. And when a lot of things were going on a couple years ago, he was in Venezuela, and he was sending me a lot of really good information, and he's a legit reporter. And he had to be careful about what information went out and being identified with it, because even though he was allowed to be there, it was a dangerous thing. And he's the one that actually, after I heard a number of stories from Venezuelans about the people that had been in the prisons and got out and the cannibalism that was going on, he confirmed that for me. He said it's not everywhere in the country, and some people, you know, won't believe it because they're not in a part where that happened. But was it near Maracaibo, I believe it was, that it's a problem there. Why are there no questions? That's a question. Can people now visit Colombia or even move? No. September 1st, the airlines are supposed to open up. I don't know what rules or restrictions. Nobody knows, but that's the date they've given it. And there was, you're getting these little, they're calling them, these little mini outbreaks. Like Bogota just had a little spike. And Cali, they say in Cali there's actually a real problem because they say the hospitals are at max capacity. And again, it's hard to know what to believe, but most of the country is kind of like here. You go to the Wales, very close to Armenia, 20 minutes. Very nice theme park. The owner worked in New York many years. I'll check that out. I don't know anything about that. I try to come in December to Armenia. Do you know when airport is opening? September 1st, maybe? Listen up. I don't know, but by December it should be okay. But I would hold off making any commitments until it's actually up and running for, you know, at least a few weeks, and see how it goes. You don't want to spend time in quarantine, and you know, nobody, like I say, nobody knows what those rules are going to be. Colombia is being really, we'll say, conservative in this, draconian, I would say, in their treatment of this. I read somewhere that Colombia is having the longest lockdown of any country in the world. Although in a lot of ways it's not really a lockdown if you can go out every day, but it kind of is. Coleman, $5. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Enjoy having you and your contributions. And don't forget, feel free to put comments. Right now we've got these live comments, but the regular comments below. Comment all you want, questions, whatever. Feel free to send me emails. It's all good. I answer every one, I believe, but every once in a while they get kind of lost in the shuffle, and I'll go back and I'll see something that was, 3, 4, 5 days ago, and it's like I'm horrified. I don't intend it to be that way, but that happens sometimes. Rob, you're coming up with a green band because you're a member of the channel, and I think that's outing you. I was wondering what that green was, but I think it's, if you're a member of the channel, I think that's one of the things that denotes that. Golf seems tough in Colombia, mostly for the rich. I don't know. It's nothing's all that expensive, but I'll look into it. I explained why I don't. Without clubs and stuff, it's just something I just kind of gave up on. But I'll look into it. If they have places to golf in Cuenca, Ecuador, then I imagine they've got them here. And if it's going to be out of reach expense-wise, Cuenca, Ecuador would be the place. Here would not be so likely. But I'll find out. I was in Cali in March. There was one golf course that allowed public play. There appears to be one near Armenia. I'm pretty sure there's golf courses here. But even if it's private, that doesn't mean you can't get day passes. Like I said, this sports club, this Bolos, with the tennis court, it's a huge complex. And being a member is something like $20-something a month. And people here consider, well, if you're a member of that, you're like, ooh, la-di-da, Ooh, showing the pinky finger, ooh. But it's only $20-something a month, so it's certainly not out of reach. And I think that's what I'm going to find. But I'll look into it. I'll see if I can get an answer for you on next coffee time. If you send me an email, I won't forget. Okay, I think that's it. That's it for today. It looks like it played flawless. The colors are good. The sound is working. Nothing glitched out. I wasn't late. Maybe I'm going to get this down eventually. Never said I wasn't a slow learner. So, outro time. I'll see you the next coffee time.